What's up, guys? I'm going to be creating a tier list on the best ways to improve your looks or how to Looksmaxx. Now, before we begin, you must ask, why do you want to look good in the first place? The number one reason is because you probably want to attract a partner. Now, why do you want to attract a partner? Because you want to be intimate with that person. But why do you want to be intimate in the first place? Because your body is telling you to have children. So before I tell you the best and worst ways to Looksmaxx, you must realize why you even want to look good in the first place. So first of all, we have peptides. Now peptides will instantly go into the F tier category, and I will explain why. So you would have to be incredibly naive to believe that peptides are these magical potions that magically fix your life. No, these peptide companies are paying influencers to promote them to their gullible audiences. And basically, you can divide peptides into two major categories. The first category are basically poisons, right? So, for example, we have things like MT2, which is basically supposed to simulate tanning. But the problem is this, all of these peptides are poisonous. They are toxins, right? And so in response to being poisoned, your body upregulates alpha MSH, and then therefore you get this zombie tan. That is why people say that Clavicular has been zombie maxing, because he's been abusing MT2. And then the second category are these peptides that mimic growth hormones. For example, we have IGF-1 LR3. These peptides bring you in a chronically anabolic state, which therefore will cause you to rapidly age. And that is why people like Clavicular, again, look way older than their actual age. I'm pretty sure he's 19 years old.
24, okay.
Yeah.
How old do you think I am?
You look 28, 28.
I'm 19, but, so...
Okay.
Right, so he looks way older than his actual age, and it can also cause things like acromegaly, abnormal bone growth. That is why people like androgenic have these weird excessive bone growths on their face. So next of all, we have supplements. 95% of supplements are going to go into the F tier category, and that is because the vast majority of supplements are synthetic and don't actually work. Most of these supplements have tons of chemical contamination. You can get all of these nutrients from food, and you don't need to take any herbs or any of this crap because your body simply does not need that to be healthy. Next, we have Mewing. Now, Mewing isn't as bad as the other two, but it'll probably go into F tier anyway, and that is because there is absolutely zero evidence whatsoever that putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth and then breathing through your nose will magically fix your facial structure after puberty. Because as I've explained in other videos, mewing is not the cause of good development, it is simply an effect of good development. Mewing is not necessarily harmful, but it's just useless for actually like having some drastic improvements. Next, we have fragrances. Most fragrances are F tier because they are absolute poisons. They are made with tons of endocrine disrupting chemicals like parabens, all these other things, and they completely destroy your hormones over time. If you smell very, very bad, it is basically because your body is trying to detox whatever it has to detox, whether it's bad food or other things. But it obviously takes time to detox things. So if you genuinely smell bad, then just opt for a more natural deodorant, one with very few ingredients, ones that are not as nearly as toxic as these fragrances like cologne, because those are very, very bad. Like perfumes and cologne are very bad. Next, we have diet. I'd put diet into S tier, and that is because, first of all, diet is the foundation. Now, do not come at me with these straw man arguments of, oh, diet will not turn me into a Chad, but I'm like, okay, nobody ever claimed that after puberty, you'll magically turn into a Chad if you go on a raw primal diet. Nobody ever said that. However, what it will do is after puberty, it will give you massive improvements in health indicators. It'll totally clear up your skin. You'll have way better body composition, etc. And guess what? If you are in puberty, yes, you can and absolutely will see some bone improvements, especially if you're like 14, 15 or whatever. Realize this one thing. If you ate a proper diet and your ancestors ate a proper diet, you would have never have had these looks problems in the first place. You would have never have had a recessed jaw or a recessed maxilla or crooked teeth in the first place. So realize that. Next, we have sunlight. So sunlight will go into the S tier as well. And let me explain why. Sun has way more benefits than just vitamin D, because basically sunlight influences your circadian rhythm. Sunlight is so important that there are Looksmaxxers like Clavicular and others that take poisons like MT2 to mimic what sunlight actually does. It is well established that having a tan is attractive. And it's also funny because people like Clavicular recommend to take melatonin supplements for its antioxidant properties, but it's funny because when you go into the sun, your body naturally produces melatonin. Overall, sun is very, very healthy. It'll boost your hormones, your testosterone. Just don't get burnt. So next we have sleep, S tier. This is because your body does most of its growth and repair during sleep. If during puberty, for whatever reason, you don't get enough sleep, you are guaranteed to have worse growth. You will not grow as well. You will not grow as tall. Okay, so overall, you have to sleep as long as your body wants to. That is just common sense. But even past puberty, if you don't get enough sleep, you'll have dark eye circles, under eye bags, you'll have this weird puffy look. You'll overall look way worse. So sleep is very important. Next, we have avoiding toxins, S tier category, because it all starts in the womb, though, because it is a fact that's proven by even mainstream science that if your mother was exposed to BPAs while you were in the womb, it'll affect your development, leading to a smaller anogenital distance, smaller genitals, and overall worse hormones for life. And also, as an adult, these toxins can lower your hormones, give you a whole host of problems, health problems, and toxins can be anything, whether it is the toxins in food, your air, your water, microplastics, particular interventions that people get, which I can't mention on YouTube, that damage the human body. So overall, yeah, like these are the top 4 by far because they are the foundation. Because guess what? If you lived this way from birth, you would not have any of these bone problems or any of these looks problems. Next, we have gym. Gym is going to go into the C tier. And let me explain. I am not against movement in general because humans have arms and legs. We are meant to move our bodies, obviously. However, for Looksmaxxing, women do not care about these big, huge muscles. They genuinely don't, right? What they care about is your bone structure, if you're tall and facially attractive, right? And also if you have wide clavicles or a wide frame, which come down to your bones, not muscles. And also overdoing the gym can also lower your testosterone, right? If you want to do natural movements, do hiking or light calisthenics, and also eating properly will naturally give you a lean body. Even if you think women care about muscles, your muscles only look as good as the bones underneath them. You will not magically turn into David Lade because you have muscles. And also, when short and unattractive guys get muscles, it basically looks like they are compensating very, very hard because they are. So next we have posture. Posture will also go into C tier. So improving your posture is not necessarily harmful, but it's treating a symptom, not a cause. Because you'll never see healthy tribal people or healthy, well-nourished people having to actively fix their posture. It just comes naturally, right? And that is because their muscles and their bones and their ligaments are naturally strong. So this posture obsession, whether it's body posture, mouth posture, it's not necessarily bad, but it's just this obsession that unhealthy people have. But I also will acknowledge that if you're past puberty and have genuine posture problems, then yeah, trying to counteract that is going to be good. But overall, just realize that it's a symptom of a broader problem. Next, we have being lean. A tier. Now realize that you can have the best bone structure in the entire world, but if you have lots of fat, then people will never see it. But what people also have to realize is that not all fat gain is equal. Because look, have you ever noticed these obese people? They have this very watery, flabby fat. And that is because when you gain fat on a junk food diet, your fat becomes watery, jiggly, and toxic. However, if you gain fat on a primal type diet, then you could gain a lot of fat, but still look pretty lean. That is why Agenus Vonderplanitz was at about 19 to 25% body fat, but looked very, very lean.
Now, I have not exercised in 21 and a half years. This is my exercise, standing up here or on my computer. And this is from eating raw meat.
And that is because when you gain fat on a healthy diet, it is not the same as gaining fat on a junk food diet. So yes, being lean is important and it looks attractive, but actually realize the nuance here. Next, we have surgery. This will go into A tier. And that is because if you have a genuine problem, like a genuine bone deformity, like a very recessed jaw, a very recessed maxilla, a very crooked nose, then these surgeries, like a Biomax surgery or a rhinoplasty, can actually be life-changing. However, realize what they actually do. It is basically where a maxillofacial surgeon cuts and repositions your bones, right? So these surgeries mimic what should have happened to you during puberty. So realize that if you followed these 4 things from birth, you would have never have needed surgery in the first place. But I do acknowledge that if you have genuine problems that are holding you back, then surgery can actually be very, very helpful. Next, we have teeth. Teeth will go into A tier as well, though, because if you have very crooked teeth or a very narrow palate, it can actually drastically decrease your attractiveness. If you're a teenager or an adult and you have some very crooked teeth, then yes, I would recommend braces or Marpies or palate expanders. But crooked teeth are 0% genetics whatsoever. They literally aren't. They come purely from living unnaturally, particularly having a poor diet. So if you ate proper food from birth, you would not have crooked teeth, and I'm very confident of that. Overall, fixing your teeth is pretty important. Next, we have hairstyle. It'll probably go into B tier. A hairstyle cannot make up for being short and unattractive. That is why I cringe so insanely hard when I see Gen Z guys constantly checking their hair in their phone cameras. It's so cringe. And also, a longer natural haircut will always look better than these cringy, fluffy TikTok haircuts. Like a longer middle part always looks way, way better. And there's nothing cringier than a guy trying to copy these like fluffy TikTok haircuts. It's super cringe. And then lastly, we have fashion. Fashion will probably go into B tier. Fashion cannot make up for being unattractive. It cannot make up for it, right? But it's very marginal. It could arguably go into C tier, actually, because it's very marginal. It does not really improve much, but it can help if you don't wear cringy clothes and you aren't this like cringy hype beast wearing weird clothes. Just realize that it cannot make up for being unattractive. Alright guys, let me know what you think about the tier list, and also if you want to actually know how to improve your looks, improve your dating, improve your health, then that is where my private community comes in. Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya.